because we'll come with straws and blow into your mouth while you sleep.
We could try. Well,
You're welcome.
I'll buy the straws he can blow in your mouth.
Good lungs. Good lungs.
Hey, we got to talk about it. We've been talking about sleep a couple different times, how important it is for our listeners and ourselves over the time. And what do you know? You have Post Malone on the Full Send podcast. Guy can't sleep and's miserable. What do you know?
It's funny because he brings it up almost like on and off comment. Like this entire conversation with the guys just tease off on an off comment that he says.
Yeah.
He's like, I have a terrible time sleeping.
Yeah, and you'll see in the video they pull out a sleep apnea machine, and they were chit-chatting a little bit about it, but it's kind of crazy to think how much sleep influences almost everybody, and it's a shame that he's feeling that way, but we had to touch it a little bit. I mean, sleep apnea is, we're not like the pandemic king and queen kind of thing here, talking about you can be the queen.
I assumed I've got much more
feminine status.
I was going to go just beauty, general beauty.
Beauty. Okay. It's probably because you get such good sleep now. Is that what it is?
It's. I won't say that it's a sleep apnea machine either. I'll tell you about marbles later. I use marbles.
You bring that up.
I'll bring the marbles up.
No, but it's kind of crazy to say. I would say one of the biggest things for listeners out there, if you feel dog tired every single day, when you were in that meeting and learning all those things, it's kind of interesting because that should be one of the biggest things that hits you right between the eyes that something ain't right.
Well, a lot of times it's because, first of all, the ability to have a self-awareness of why something might be wrong is very difficult because there are so many voices in there telling you, you're having bad sleep because you have you're feeling crappy because you need this caffeine. You're feeling down in the dumps because you need higher tea. There's always all these other things. But
you make a good point. Marketing is almost doing the other end of the candle that they're getting you on.
I can't sell you sleep unless I'm a mattress company, right?
Right.
Well, maybe not. And that's kind of the idea in some of these things is like the trick of it is you need to get good sleep to get the benefits from all the other things you're doing. If you're going to work out and do your, trying to do a workout program and get the most benefit you can out of that, you need sleep for recovery. You want to, ascend the corporate ladder, do anything like that with the business world. You got to keep a sharp mind and a good emotional check to make sure that you can socially work with the people that you're working with. You need sleep to accomplish that. Right. You got kids at home, you don't want to strangle them, which is a standard day-to-day.
Yeah, you don't really want to do that. That's frowned upon.
Gonna want sleep so you don't go to jail. Sleep's a big deal. But a lot of times it's not understood to be the reason why all these other problems are occurring.
I think it's one of the...
Well, you can see it there. He's like, what? Sleep? No, I just get bad sleep.
Yeah, I just don't sleep really well. And then someone brings up sleep apnea, and he's like, maybe that's what I got. It's interesting to see it from... I hate to say it, but, when you're Joe Rogan's, your Post Malones, your people talking about bad sleep, and then you're like, oh, is that me?
That does sort of feel like me.
I think I have bad sleep. It's kind of a shame that it requires some level of celebrityness to make you evaluate your life. Yeah.
Well, do you remember when we were growing up, it was a long joke, and I feel like it was not just us, but everyone had the dad that saws logs at night. Go camping, and it sounds like you have a bear in the tent.
I don't even understand how they could have made hotels or motel rooms.
With any kind of small, walls between them.
Yeah, we put all the beds in one room so you guys could all sleep together, and dad was always the issue. No one's sleeping.
When he snored, my eyeballs rattled. It was a power. There was a reverberation in that room. Yeah. And so, nowadays, hopefully, one would think that if you have a loved one that snores like that, maybe you don't, but you should know that's a problem. It's not just a problem it makes it hard for me to sleep. He's dying. Yeah. You are it leads to heart disease. It leads to bad emotional regulation. It leads to poor hormone control. It leads to low testosterone. It leads to all of these
which is basically
things.
all of the things that create happiness. So it's pretty important that you get to take a nap and get some rest.
Right. Do you remember when Dad got his sleep apnea machine the very first week?
He had an intense setup. It was forehead to chin. Sounded gas mask rolling.
It sounded like
in
a
there.
jet engine was taking off. It was one of the old versions that had. It wasn't the sleep quiet one, and so it's sitting there rolling off. And I remember he said that first time I went to bed with that thing, I woke up having to pee so bad. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I slept for 5 hours straight. I haven't slept for 5 hours straight in years. I always wake up and pee.
I have a friend that's in his 30s as well. I've had him on the show before, Dominic, and he said that he would snore real loud. It was kind of the same symptoms as most people would have. He ended up going to get a sleep study, and they were like, yeah, you need one of these really bad. And his is just the nose, so it's a little less invasive. Turns on this machine. You know, everybody's got the little bag they got to carry when they stay somewhere. It's the whole routine. He sets it up beside the bed.
Let's be clear. People have been bringing extra crap when they travel all the time. This is no imposition.
Right. So, he puts the thing in his nose, and he even turned it on for me, and it's pretty intense. But he says it's changed his life. I mean, the amount of rest and how he feels the next day is completely changed. It's kind of crazy. Like, there's all the problems in society because no one sleeps and then gets hyped up on amphetamines and caffeines and all the speeders.
Let's not call it all of the. Yeah, you know what? Maybe all of it. It might be all of it.
I mean, turn those frowns upside down, take a nap. You know what I mean?
So we started talking at work specifically about this because we get trash sleep pretty often. So we're trying to find ways to make sleep go better, from going to bed earlier to doing things like that. Like the number of people in our department now that have sleep apnea machines is like on the rise. You go in there, you walk in, it sounds like these very whisper quiet vacuum cleaners all night. Like just
and nothing's actually getting vacuumed.
Oh, nothing's getting
People
vacuumed.
Just sleeping.
If anything, you're just shoving whatever's in the air down. You gotta have a good filter with those.
Right.
Real good filters. That's going into the lung cookies when you get them cranked up. So all of that's going on. People are starting to get a little bit better sleep on the times that they can actually fall asleep. But it got me thinking, like, most people when they see these machines are looking at it like, I don't want to look like Bane when I go to bed. I'm actually still interested in my wife too. I don't want to have to worry about this whole setup.
You just got to try winking at her more.
It's the wink.
It's more winking and it works.
People put a lot of roadblocks in their way to getting a machine like this. And so it got me thinking, I was like, what are I'm bringing up the marbles, by the way. What are some ways then that we can change the way that we sleep, since it seems to be kind of an anatomical problem? You want to hit what sleep apnea kind of comes from?
Well, it's if you're really muscular and you have a thick neck, if you have a tendency of your tongue falling back in the back of your throat when you're sleeping, it's basically, in essence, is you don't breathe for multiple seconds at a time and then gasp for air. So imagine if you're in your deep sleep cycle, if you're in any one of those 4 stages and then you choke, well,
back up.
You tend to not be asleep anymore. And I think a majority of the people don't even realize they have it. They don't really understand why they're tired all the time, whether they sleep 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. I don't know who gets to actually attempt to sleep 12 hours when you're older, but no matter what the time frame is, you just don't feel refreshed. You don't feel energized. And as we went over in that other podcast, if you're not truly getting into those deeper cycles, then your emotional state gets all jacked up. You don't really get to reset physically. There's a whole bunch of attributes to the entire sleep cycle that have to be accomplished. And if you're choking all the time, you're not really kind of moving through those phases.
Right.
So
the sleep apnea machine gets in there and it removes basically the anatomy issue. It forces air down and it creates positive pressure into the airway to make it so that it can't be closed off.
And is it actually more oxygen, so you're not really needing to breathe more, or it's literally just blowing air into you so you get all the air you need?
It's blowing air in. The idea is that it's a positive pressure scenario that keeps your lungs kind of inflated and keeps the upper airway inflated as well. And so those things make it so that you don't have the issue of hypoxia that makes you wake up, where you do that gasping breath. And like you said, the gasping breath comes a lot of times because anatomy has fallen down into the airway and you just can't breathe. So the positive pressure keeps that from happening.
I wonder when people are, hundreds of years ago and things, or even 50 years ago, was just sleep apnea just running rampant and no one knew how to treat it? Because I don't really feel like beds and sleeping on your back or tongues falling back, that can't just be new. Is it all a weight issue?
Some
if
of
you
it.
Weigh less? I mean,
there's a lot of reasons why someone would get sleep apnea, and you'll offend a lot of people if you throw them into a list. But the top contributors are having too thick of a neck. And the people that have too thick of a neck or too thick of a tongue or anything like that are people that tend to be overweight for one reason or another. The overweight could be.
Well, haven't you ever seen any of those stats of like 1960s? The actual average weight of everyone was significantly lower than it is now by lots of weight, like 20, 30 pounds.
Right.
Which is kind of insane to think. I mean, even in the healthy weight ranges, when you're doing body fats and all those types of things, and you're trying to give suggestions to people, most of them are built on norms in society. So even when they're telling people you're normal, you still outweigh someone from the 1960s by like 20 pounds.
Right. Yeah. The norm has trended up. So that overweight doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're a fatty. Like that's not even, I mean,
smoke a fatty or wait,
not quite. No, like
then you'll be eating more maybe.
Issue. No, it's more about the weight of your neck. And so that could also come from just being a weightlifter. So you could have a very low fat percentage and just have a thick body. Sure. And having a thick body also will contribute to this. And then there's also like neurological things where it's like, yeah, when I relax, all of my muscles go slack, and then my tongue falls into my throat. It's not because I'm overweight. It's not because anything else. That's just
or the symptom or the septum issues. Like
septum issues.
I kind of have this weird thing in my nose that if I can lay on the right side, it's so weird. If I lay on the right side of my face and then like slide my cheek out slightly,
you can breathe all day.
Breathe all day, no matter if I got a cold, anything like that. If I lay on my back or don't have my head tilted to the side doing this same concept, can't even breathe out my right nostril at all.
Yeah, it's broke face. You have a broke face.
Got all these silly little things you can stick in your nose and it like pulls open your airway. Those work pretty legit. If you don't want the sleep apnea machines, those are pretty okay.
So yeah, like the sleep apnea machine is an effort to change your anatomy by forcing air in and opening that airway. The other things that can happen, and it's harder to do, is you can change the way that you sleep, because most people are having these sleep apnea episodes when they're laying on their back. And, you know, most people would say, yeah, lay on your back because it helps keep your spine in alignment. Because when you lay on your side, you can do all these things where your hips are in the wrong space, your knees are the wrong space, all kinds of stuff like that.
Sure.
The reality is, whatever your problem is, you need to adjust for that problem. So if your problem is you don't breathe well at night, you need to adjust for breathing above everything else. So perhaps an easier solution that, we've got a brother-in-law that can't get a sleep apnea machine right now. They're not available because supply chain issues and things like that.
So no kidding.
He can't even get one.
It's even hit the sleep apnea world?
Yeah. So in that case, or if it's the case of a listener, like start coming up with alternative solutions that might just include not sleeping on your back. Now, how do you not sleep on your back when your body's going to go to the most comfortable place it can to sleep? Well, you just make it less comfortable to sleep on your back. So this is where the marbles come in. They get into be a really weird spot. Like it's gonna get some looks.
I'm not sure if I'm on board with the marbles.
Trust me, it's all about it. So the reason I know this kind of stuff works is I found out years ago I was having shoulder pain, bad shoulder pain, and I worked at a camp, and the camp had this skylight. I talked to a chiropractor. He was asking me questions like, "How are you sleeping now?" I was like, "Good. I sleep as well as I always have." He goes, no, I mean, like, what shape is your body in when you sleep? I was like, I don't know.
Body shape.
Yeah, I sleep on my back. He goes, all right, well, like, are you laying on a pillow, or where's your arm at? I was like, well, I think I put my arm over my head. He goes, have you always done that? Like, I don't think so. I had to start doing it because I have a skylight, and anytime the sun comes up or the moon goes over the top or anything like that, I end up waking up. So I just block it with my arm. He goes, well, you're impinging your nerves because you're putting your arm up there. He's like, you're going to have to sleep a different way or change what's happening or wear a blackout mask to keep that from happening so that your arm will go back down. But at that point, I had already changed how I slept naturally, that now that felt comfortable. So the thing I had to do, and it sounds stupid, is I would tie my arm to my body. I went to bed and I would tie my arm to my body so I wouldn't naturally put it up there in the middle of my sleep. My shoulder pain starts going away. Everything gets better.
What did you use to tie?
I just took like an ace bandage. I wrapped it around my body and then closed it off, and that's how I went to sleep. But it worked.
When you woke up, did people like, what do you got going there?
Everyone likes to come through my room while I'm sleeping and just check on me. So they always had questions. No one. I'm asleep. I'm by myself. Like, no one asked me questions.
Well, when you got up, like there was no one there to look at you and be like, why do you have an ace wrap around your body?
My wife asked about it. She's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm trying to keep my arm down. She goes, just wear a mask over your face. I'm like, no, I'm not going to look like an idiot. so instead, I wrap myself with an ace bandage.
There you go.
Nevertheless, same kind of mentality comes if you're going to sit there and try and, I want to stop sleeping on my back. Well, you're going to sleep on your back every time because it's the most comfortable way to sleep for you. So what do? You make it less comfortable. So duct tape a marble to your back. Now when you're sitting there laying on your back, you got this thing. I'm not going to sleep.
What about all the hair and stuff?
Listen, after a couple of tapings, you don't have to worry about the hair either. This is win-win.
I don't know. Would I do that or would I not?
The answer for me is absolutely.
So you think that if you would fall asleep just from your arm thing, your body just naturally won't use the object. You feel it in your back, you think your body will roll over and you're not going to wake up.
Yep. So I did a little bit of research before going on the video because I was curious. I was like, has anyone else had this thing happen? And lo and behold, another chiropractor had said, your issue is you're going to revert to whatever's comfortable to your body. And if it felt comfortable before on your back, it's going to go back to the back every single time. And you're not awake enough to know it. So you're not going to be able to monitor and change that behavior. But if you put something so it's not comfortable, like the marble, which is where that idea came from, your body will naturally try and find the next position of comfort, and that won't be on your back.
And maybe that means you're breathing.
And maybe that means because I'm a mouth breather. When I go to sleep, my mouth immediately pops open. I'm mouth breathing. I can't stop that. I don't know how to stop that. I've been looking for things. You want to know the weirdest thing I heard to fix that? Put a chin strap around on your jaw and stick it up to the thing, or put tape over your lips.
I like
those
that.
are the things that came up.
Nice.
Ultimately, I'm willing to look like an idiot for you. You're welcome.
Well, I've got the visor things now since our sleep talk.
Oh, you've
had to be done.
Up.
Yeah, my house is way too bright. We've got young ones trying to, walk down hallways, not stub toes. So it's always kind of bright. I've got these crazy spotlights outside that are too bright, and all these different things coming through the window. So yeah, I went all out. I got the mask.
Is it pink? Does it have hearts?
No,
is it a Hello Kitty?
I just went with black. It could have been. But I went with all black so that I thought it would be darker. I don't know that it would really matter, but I threw it on there. I've been wearing the mask at night. It's got this little buckle in the back, which I'm not real sure why you would put a buckle mechanism that sits on the back of your head. But it does work pretty good, I have to say. Sleeping pretty sound, not getting that whole light thing. I mean, I would have had to wake up and move a T-shirt over my head or something. That wasn't my go-to. But yeah, I'm pretty bougie now. I'm walking around. I got these nose things to help me breathe. I got this eye thing to do this. I got pillows under the arm. Hey, sleep can change your life, It
really can. And I think that's kind of what they were getting through in this entire interview with Post Malone. Again, and it wasn't a whole interview. It was just a thing that
it was just a piece. We were watching a little bit, and
but it's exactly what we've been talking about.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that it impacts a little bit of everybody. And I would say you look at Post Malone and you're like, oh, man, you're extremely overweight. That's what I think is kind of crazy about that 1960s concept is it's, the average person these days is way bigger than they used to be. So is sleep apnea just undiagnosed from those decades? Or is that visceral mass underneath your body that kind of, you start getting your body fat down a little bit? I've went through waves of this many times. And you get around like 15%, 14%, and then there's really not a whole lot of changes. And again, everybody's different. Every body's different. Some people may still be seeing changes. But for me and my body, when I get to like 15 to 12 or 11, literally like zero changes on the external, and somehow I'm losing weight internally.
Yeah, you've got visceral fat that's disappearing.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of levels to that. But if you think about it like a Mortal Kombat meter, I don't know why this analogy pops into my head so much. But if you think about it, it's like once you filled up all your visceral mass, your room for all this fat that's internal, and then you see the stuff that maybe you don't like so much. You got a little flab under your arms. You got, a chest that's maybe a little too fatty if you're a guy, all those kinds of things. Well, you may also just be completely past the point of no sleep apnea too. Yeah. You know what I mean? What if that's the case, is these healthy body ranges that everybody's giving you is giving you that chunk of 10 to 20 pounds that's the bad one. That's the bad stuff, Interesting to think. I would love to know if people back then were having those same kind of issues. And
like you said, it'd be hard to diagnose because part of what they do to diagnose sleep apnea is they come in, they have you do a sleep study.
Right.
You can report all that you want. Like the Epworth, I believe, is a sleep study where it's just a questionnaire. You can report everything they want, and they might say, yeah, we want to do a sleep study with you because this looks bad. But ultimately, until someone watches you sleep and then go,
oh yeah, you almost died.
Yeah,
we should do something.
We put checks in the box every time you did that. It turns out 32 times in 10 hours you made that noise like you were dying.
Right.
Oh, so what should I do about that? You should stop dying. We're going to give you a thing to make you breathe right.
When really the symptom maybe mass, maybe, you almost wonder if that's what wakes you up too, because if you weigh more than you should laying on your joints, laying on your arms, that's why they're going to sleep. That's why,
Well, that's the hard thing too, because the sleep apnea machines, the CPAP, that is not a fix for the actual problem. The actual problem is anatomical. The actual problem is, a weight. The actual problem is any of these other number of things. It doesn't fix any of the reasons why you have sleep apnea. And some of those reasons probably can't be fixed. But what it does is it alleviates the symptom of being too big or too fat or too muscular or too whatever.
Or brutally exhausted.
Yeah, or brutally exhausted, or a lot of times alcohol. Alcohol creates a relaxation amongst the muscles, and that relaxation also occludes the airway. So all of those elements could be the actual root of your sleep apnea. CPAP won't fix that. It'll just say, yeah, but you'll be able to breathe even though that's a problem. Oh, well, that's great. And then I get all the sleep I need.
Chalk that up as a W.
Yeah. So I don't have to change anything. I just have to look like an elephant all night. Sold.
It is cool, though. It was a cool little spot there. It's always nice to see. Not nice to see, sorry, Post Malone, that you can't breathe. But I would say, if you're out there and you can't breathe, or your partner's telling you you're snoring way too loud, if you find yourself...
Or you're waking up exhausted every day.
Yeah, you find yourself needing to get a bunch of caffeine in your body to even be able to move. If you find yourself rolling around in all these different positions because you can't get comfortable because you keep waking up, and you've tried some of these other recommendations. You've tried the light thing. You've, tried to have some kind of an ambient noise going on. What were some of those other recommendations that they had?
Oh, man, get a bedtime routine. Get your mind brought down into the place where you're going to sleep. Stop having
all the blue
your
lights,
cell phones and your blue lights around you. Once you've done all those things and it's still not working, I think it's time to talk to a doctor and do a sleep study.
Yeah,
let's get to the root of the problem.
We have multiple people that I know. You probably know some as well, that once you get on a sleep apnea machine, it definitely is a revolutionary change for these people. So if you have problems studying or sleeping, public service announcement, get on your sleep apnea machine. You won't regret it.
Yeah, and give us a call if that's having a problem, because we'll come with straws and blow into your mouth while you sleep.
We could try. Well,
you're welcome.
I'll buy the straws he can blow in your mouth.
Good lungs. Good lungs.